Cura 5.5 is here, and there is some big stuff under the hood on this one. I'm about to explain it. Let's go. This video is sponsored by PCBWay. So, this is a huge new feature that is almost entirely invisible to the users right now, and that is plugins. Not plugins like these, plugins to the actual engine. Cura is a software of two halves. This is Cura. This is the front end that you interact with. This, however, is Cura Engine. It's the bit that does the actual slicing. The front end has had plugins since forever. I could go and have a look, but it's been at least 3 years, so in the 3D printing space that just means forever, right? Engine plugins, though, those are new in this release. Engine plugins are exactly what they sound like. You can now download plugins that directly interact with the slicing process that the engine backend does. So that could be anything from a new type of support to changing how line widths behave to, well, anything. Right now, there are exactly 3 plugins that are available. The first is a whole feature that I'll get to in a moment, but of the other 2, one of them removes all the non-fan commands. It does, I've tried it. The third one is somewhat more useful, and that is the one I will show you to demonstrate engine plugins. This is a custom infill plugin. You can define any polygon pattern you want by coordinates, and the pattern will be used as infill. So as it stands, you would create a bunch of coordinates, put them in a file, as you can see, and Cura will use that to define the infill pattern. And that's really cool. It was essentially intended as a technical demo for engine plugins, but actually it could turn out to be quite useful. As you have maybe figured out, plugins aren't just back-end things. There is a front-end component to them as well, and that allows you to add interactions to the front end of Cura, which at the moment typically forms a checkbox to turn the plugin on and off, and some settings. But this increases the potential as the front and back end can talk to each other through the plugin, so things like custom interactions are potentially possible. This means that interactive support definition and things like that, things like being able to put things on the model that then get dealt with in the engine, these are, of course, now possible. And there's a lot of use of the word potential here because this is brand new and we'll have to see how it pans out. The plugins will be on the same marketplace that you're used to, but for the moment, if you want to play with this one, you can download it from the location given, and I'll put that in the description. You have to drag drop the file onto Cura, then restart. Of course, you've got to turn on all settings so that you can see the option. And the same for the fans plugin if you're inclined to mess with that, although I don't recommend leaving it turned on because, yeah, you will send things to print with that. Okay, so you're probably thinking, how hard is it for me to make a plugin? Well, you can look at the existing examples and make your own mind up, but at the moment this is all very new, and that means it's both not entirely documented yet, but it's also very beta. So I think ultimately, that this is going to be a huge thing, and there's going to be a lot of new functionality coming out of this. But for the moment, most of us non-developer users are just going to have to wait for the smarter people to write them. Or maybe not, because this next feature is in fact implemented as an engine plugin. If you look at the installed plugins, if you search around, you can see it. I think Cura are going to use the Cura engine prefix, as they already are, to distinguish engine plugins from normal ones. Not sure if that's going to continue, but yes, Cura engine Gradual Flow is this feature in the release notes. The idea behind Gradual Flow is to stop sudden changes in flow when printing. If I show you on an XYZ cube, If I show you the preview and I choose flow as the color scheme, you can see that the flow changes abruptly here, and if your inner and outer wall speeds are substantially different speeds, then that can lead to quite a drastic change in instantaneous speed. Which, if you're doing the same line width, which broadly speaking you will be, then this is quite a huge jump in actual flow rate, which will mean that the extruder has to suddenly speed up, which will cause a sudden jump in pressure, which will essentially lag before it turns into flow. At least I think that's the theory. It's also, of course, an issue the other way round when you slow down. Now, things like Pressure Advance exist, which are intended to tackle exactly this. So to my mind, this is a solved problem. Pressure Advance is effectively decoupling flow rate from travel to try to do the same thing and not cause this lag in extruded material with respect to speed, which is what causes funny looking corners. But this is the real world, and the real world is messy, and it's probably still not a bad idea to change flow rate slowly, but I do have to wonder how this interacts with Pressure Advance settings. It could be an interesting thing to test. One thing we can be sure of is that this will be substantially better for Bowden printers and for flexible filament, which will definitely need all the help they can get with changes in pressure, because both a long tube and an elastic filament both benefit from better pressure control. Okay, so this one isn't part of the new release, but I'm going to mention it anyway because I think we all need to know about it. There is a plugin called Elevated Beats and Slicers, and I have had to change the music that it plays just to make sure. I know that it's Creative Commons, the one it comes with, but I just like to use my own music when I do my videos because I don't want to get caught out later. If you want to hear the original music, you can download the plugin yourself. I suppose I should explain what it is. Yeah, every time you slice it, it plays elevator music. It will play whatever music is in the correct location, so yeah. Next thing in the changelog, and I'm not really going in any particular order, this one is a lot easier to understand. You can now do grid placement when you duplicate an object. This keeps the orientation that the original object has, and it spaces them out in a grid formation. I think mainly it just looks nicer. I don't think it has any other effect. Do you need to make PCBs? You can't print them? I mean, you could, and there's people working on that, but doesn't generally work. We'll talk about this in a future video. The sponsor of this video is PCBWay, who actually make real PCBs to your specification and not replicas like this. But you know what? This is a great way to visualize the finished product before you send it off. I thought it was a funny joke, but maybe it's not. Making PCBs with PCBWay is easy. Just upload your files to the quick order page, choose any options you want, or use the defaults, choose shipping options, checkout, and wait. PCBWay can also print your STLs for you, the same format as your own printer uses. They can print it out in a vast range of materials, including metals. If you need any help, you can click on the material info link and find out what considerations there are for the material you want to use, and the processes involved too. PCBWay also have sheet metal and CNC processors, as well as their PCB and 3D printing services, and they can assemble PCBs for you too. Getting stuff made couldn't be easier, so go check out the links below in the description to get a code for your first order. Thank you PCBWay for sponsoring this episode. Next up, there is some Clipper stuff, settings around something called fluid motion. I don't know what this is, maybe you do. It does change the G-code output, but not by much, but it's there. It doesn't seem to change the overall file. It just changes the decimal places on G-code commands. Very strange. If you know what this is, then maybe you can explain it in the comments. Finally, there's two top surface and bottom surface changes. The second one is potentially useful as it serves as an override to top and bottom surface infill on thin parts. It will swap the infill pattern with just walls on thin parts instead of infill. You have to use the checkbox if you want that to be on the visible surfaces, as on screen. As to the use of this, potentially it means less tiny print moves, which could speed up printing and reduce vibrations, and I guess it could be more neat. I think it will be useful as it's tangentially related to a video I did a while ago where I suggested increasing wall count can remove print time, and this is basically the same thing except it's going to use less material. And the other final thing is a load of new top surface flow, speed and derivatives options, which it's just finer speed control stuff specifically aimed at top surfaces. I think the end point here could be that Ultimaker is trying to define every single type of move and surface to control them separately, which luckily most of these, if not all of them, can be left alone unless you have a specific problem to solve, and that does go for Cura settings generally. So that's it. The biggest stuff by far here is the potential of the engine plugins, and I will be interested to see where that goes in the coming months. If you have any feedback on those, I'll put a link below to the right place to leave that. There is a GitHub link, at least I think that's where they want the feedback. Any other thoughts that aren't a version of use another slicer? Because honestly, that's getting kind of old. You're not clever. Leave a comment below. I will otherwise see you next time. Thank you for watching.